some of this to life in the best way possible. So just as a recap, we have the flow guide. Again, this will be in the deck for afterwards, and this has been particularly useful. And you'll see that in the examples that we show you, we've got the flow guide to the right of the image, so that we can refer to that as we go. Just a quick thank you to everyone who sent in creative examples, some really interesting ones, and we picked 4 or 5 at random, just to, as I say, trying to bring it to life. I think some of the questions that have been asked already may now be answered. So, Richard, let's look at this one first. Zoe's Place Baby Hospice features a child prominently within the centre of the ad. There are a number of visual cues, teddy bear logo, etc. What's the feeling with this one?
Okay, so first of all, big tick, I think, to this advertiser. Look down on the bottom right hand side. First of all, yeah, you've got there. I think it says 18 plus, George. My eyesight's not that good, but yeah. And the reason it will say 18 plus, as we've discussed previously, is that a lot of social media will require you to be 18 plus, even though lotteries are actually 16 plus for people who can buy. But the 18 plus is down there. Technically, it could be a 16 plus also showing the Be Gamble Aware logo and website. So ticked them for that. So yes, let's just go through the flow chart with this one as regards under 25. So are under 25s shown gambling? Of course, they're not in this situation. Certainly, the girl in the middle is under 25. So we can move on from that. Are the under 25s featured an incidental or significant role? Well, my view is this is a significant role for the girl. It's highlighting her in the centre of the shot. Does the ad feature scratch cards or other instant win products? No. So we move across the right hand side. Does the ad explicitly encourage consumers to purchase a lottery product? Well, I think the cap code sort of indicates that only £1 to play. So showing the ticket price is not explicit encouragement, but I wonder whether per play here may start to fall into that explicit encouragement. Explicit examples were given by cap as join now or buy a ticket, but not explicit, just showing the ticket price. So I think we're on the borderline there. But anyway, let's say there is explicit encouragement and we go down, yes. Do more than 50% of the funds raised benefit under 25s, including as part of a family? Well, this is benefiting Zoe's Place Baby Hospice Liverpool, and therefore we're presuming that the funds raised are benefiting babies or children, and therefore I think the answer would be yes. So you go off onto the right hand side and it would be compliant. We put on their appeal, so you would also have to, alongside this, consider whether there's any strong appeal to children. One thing I would make on this, and I picked this up first of all, picked up on this advert, is we've got a teddy bear, of course, on the bottom right hand corner, and you may say, well, the teddy bear has strong appeal to children, would have strong appeal to children. In actual fact, there is an exemption, and it's explained in the CAP guidance, advertising guidance, which applies from the 1st of October. It's called Gambling and Lotteries Advertising Protecting Under 18s. And there are examples of exemptions in there, and one of which is branding. So logos or livery, a specific exemption covering material relating specifically to an advertiser's brand identity. So based on that, my feeling is that despite there being a teddy bear as the logo, that would not have strong appeal to children, or it would be subject to one of the exemptions. So I think that advert would be acceptable, whether under the old rules and under the new rules.
Richard, we've got a couple of comments that have come through. Jason Salt and Simon Judd, thank you for making a comment on this one. Both individuals are suggesting that the word play is pretty explicit. So what's the feeling on that? Again, you know, it's highly subjective, but what's the feeling on the word play here?
Yes, I think I tend to agree with that. I mean, I'd have to look at all. I think there were some more terms which were defined as being explicit encouragement to participate or to purchase. I think if it just said only £1, I think you'd be okay, because it's not explicit to show the ticket price. But I think play probably does involve more of an encouragement. So I think I would err on the side of caution there and say that there is explicit encouragement, and therefore, but in this case, we can of course move on to being compliant because of the beneficiaries.
And I think one of the points to consider also is that we're only showing the creative aspect of, let's say this was a Facebook ad. Above a Facebook ad, you've got primary text, and below the creative, you've got call to actions and headlines, which could also be more explicit around play. And we'll come on to a couple of those examples in a moment. Okay, great, thank you. Let's move on. So the second example, and there's part 1 and 2 of this one. So rainbows, brightening short lives. Again, prominent under 25 child being used in the ad. What's the feeling about this one?
Okay, so this one it is in 2 parts, so we'll come on to the next one. But this one I think is absolutely fine. So are under 25s featured an incidental or significant role? It's a significant role. It doesn't feature scratch cards or instant win products. Does it explicitly encourage consumers to purchase a lottery product? No. So we can go off to the right hand side. It's compliant. So that one I don't think is a problem at all.
Well, and then interestingly, so we looked a little bit deeper at the rainbows example. And we came across Wes Brown, who's an ex Morgan, sorry, who's an ex professional footballer, and there are, as you've just touched on, there are implications involved there. So using the same framework, are there concerns with an ex professional footballer being used to advertise the product?
Yeah. So of course. I forget what his name was. You say it's Wes Brown.
I think it's Wes Morgan.
Wes Morgan.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
Morgan,
Now retired Leicester City footballer. Of course, he's over 25, so we don't need to go down the flowchart for under 25s. But then we do have the strong appeal. I mean, the guidance from CAP at the moment is that it's current Premiership footballers which would have strong appeal to children. So I suppose he could fall outside of that category, although arguably maybe because he's recently retired, he would still have strong appeal. But then I think we flip onto the strong appeal exclusions for people. So the exclusion would say that you may include somebody who has strong appeal, provided that they are directly associated with the lottery good cause, which obviously he is. He's wearing the Rainbows t-shirt. There is no explicit encouragement to purchase a lottery product. Now, he's holding a super draw ticket. It's got win £3,000 on it. Questionable whether that's an explicit encouragement. Again, that's probably borderline. And the final one is there's no reference to scratch cards or online instant win lottery products, which there isn't. So I think this one we'd have to put on the borderline. Again, I don't think that's necessarily explicit encouragement to purchase a lottery ticket, but there may well be people in the audience who would say, as I say, it's quite clearly subjective here, that is explicit encouragement to purchase or participate. And therefore, if that was the case, then it may be falling foul of these new strong appeal rules because it wouldn't fall into the exemption. So I think that's one where if I was advising in relation to the strong appeal elements of the CAP code after the 1st of October, that's one that I will be submitting to CAP. They have a copy clearance service. It's actually free if you have the longer term thing. We've put details in these slides of how you can do that, but it'd be worth submitting that to CAP. In actual fact, even though you've had copy clearance, it doesn't mean you can't then be subject to an adverse ruling at a later date, but at least it gives some clarity about the thinking of the ASA in relation to those issues.
Well, Thank you. So Wes Morgan, okay, but maybe consider what Wes is holding to,
Yes.
to promote. Colin Stewart asked a question previously, which I think ties in here. Colin said, I work for a football team. Can we use over 25 players in ads? And I think you've already answered that question now as well, Colin.
Yeah, I mean, so I have watched. There've been some very good presentations by the ASA about strong appeal, and one of the questions that was raised was about an ex-professional footballer, Gary Lineker in this case, and the view expressed was that Gary Lineker did not have strong appeal to children, but because Gary Lineker had recently appeared on The Masked Singer, which has a strong appeal to children, they thought that Gary Lineker may move back into having strong appeal to children. So as you can see, it's incredibly difficult to say the fact that somebody's over 25, whether they do or don't have strong appeal to children.
Well, okay, thank you very much. Next example 3. So this is Somerset West and their lottery. And specifically, the question here was whether the Apple logo brings in a compliance question, and also beyond the logo, whether the idea of health and gambling being right next to each other, whether that's an issue.
It's a good question, and I've searched the CAP code to see if it might fall into any of the categories that would be prohibited. I mean, we've got all sorts of things about marketing communications mustn't show seduction, sexual success, toughness, and so on. Actually, I can't see anything specifically to do with health, so I can't see that that would be a breach anyway of the CAP code. I'm willing to be challenged on that if somebody can tell me which specific elements of the CAP code it is, but I can't see anything that would relate to. But again, I think because this is a logo, then it would be accepted by CAP in essence, even though, I mean, obviously apples don't have strong appeal to children. I'm pretty certain, but I think that's okay. I wouldn't have any issues with that.
Well, okay, thank you. There was a question earlier from Catherine Charles. I'm sure it will come up later, but we want to address the use of cute animals in advertising when that animal is the charity cause. So nice segue onto example from Canine Partners, where they use cute puppies, cute-looking puppies amongst other dogs, and very much the animal is at the central point of the cause. So. Again, visual cues. We've amplified this one by adding in the primary text above the creative and also the headline about winning 10K. So what's the feeling here, Richard?
Well, obviously this doesn't engage anything for under 25, so we now need to look at the strong appeal to children. Now this is Canine Partners. We were discussing things like guide dogs for the blind, where they might use puppies to support their advertising. In relation to that photograph, I don't necessarily think that has, I mean, it's a fairly cute puppy, but I don't necessarily think that has strong appeal to children. The question, I suppose, then is, what is the nature of the charity itself which is benefiting from this? So if you can't discount the strong appeal element to it, then is it the subject of the lottery's product? So if it was, say, Guide Dogs for the Blind, and it was actually, benefiting that charity, then you could use that particular subject. Canine Partners, I think we've got a bit missing off, and Help More Amazing Dogs. So it is helping dogs. So I think you could possibly bring it within that specific exemption. We've sort of produced something, haven't we? We found on the internet, which I think you'll put up now, George, which is more clear.
Yeah. So when is a cute animal a cute animal?
So certainly, I think if you were using imagery such as this, then that would have strong appeal to children. Whereas I think just the puppy itself probably doesn't. But again, it shows, where do you draw the line between strong appeal and not strong appeal. And I think that throws up some interesting questions, and no doubt in the future we will have these questions, not necessarily for lotteries because they tend to be less contentious, but certainly for gambling advertising as a whole. I think we're likely to see far more rulings on advertising that has strong appeal to children and use of characters such as this.
Great timing. I've just had a power cut, so bear with me. Can you see example 5 on the screen?
We can.
Good. Right. So over to you.
I've got many questions about how you're managing to still talk to us, but anyway, we'll carry on with the example. So this one here clearly has an under 25 shown. So if we go down our there's no strong appeal. I don't think anything on this advert which would be strong appeal to children. I don't think any of the graphics or anything which would be have strong appeal to children. Are under 25s featured in an incidental or significant role? Well, it's a significant role. There's no scratch cards here. Does the ad explicitly encourage consumers to purchase a lottery product? Well, I think, well, play to 3 more lives. Yes, I think you're probably right that that's explicit encouragement to play in the weekly lottery. So we go down to yes. Do more than 50% of the funds raise benefit under 25s? Well, this is Kidney Research UK. It does, of course, say kidney disease affects 3 million children and adults in the UK, but then I think we would need to drill down to the fundraising of Kidney Research UK and say, are 50% of the funds of that charity actually, or this proceeds of this lottery going to the benefit of under 25s, including as part of the family? And therefore, it would be based on the numbers about whether this would be compliant or not compliant.
And
so
full disclosure, Kidney Research UK actually didn't run this ad.
Didn't run the ad. Yeah.
Did not run the ad. Correct. Okay. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you for that.